How do we stop guilt getting in the way of having fun? I am not sure I deserve this. I am feeling selfish. I should be doing something more productive. I have too much to do and don't have time for all this fun. Does this sound familiar to you, for yourself, for that voice in your head, your friends, your family, at work? Have we normalized guilt? 96% of women report feeling guilty at least once a day. Parenting, work, personal time, not doing enough for others, relationship. Has guilt become so common that we mistake it for being responsible, maturity, being a good person? Have we developed a guilt habit that has replaced our fun habit? If you are so done with guilt bossing you around, you won't want to miss this episode on understanding your guilt more and how to put a big red stop sign in front of it. Hey, fun friend, welcome to the Finding Fun Experiment podcast, where we crack your code to health and wellness by teaching you how to prioritize fun, laughter, and play in your life. With me, Treena, your life fun expert and host, carrying a vision with all of you to inspire a worldwide fun movement. So in turn, we can live our best, healthiest, vibrant lives. And here with me today is Dr. Jody. She's a fellow blonde, a fellow Canadian, a fellow firecracker, clinical psychologist, author, super spicy speaker. She helps humans reconnect to their good, get back to each other, get back to ourselves. Come on, that's incredible. I read her book, Feeling Seen, that we'll talk a bit more about later. I've been binge listening to her podcast, Unlonely, stories about human connection, getting to the crunchiness of being lonely, being burnt out, and just, I feel like I know her, just like any other podcast. I just, first time I'm meeting her, but I feel, Jody, that I know you. And in order to get to know Jody better, I asked her to do a guest fun challenge. I asked her to share what are 5 things on her fun list as a way to get to know her better. So, Jody, what do you got? And did I miss bragging about you?
Oh my gosh. I just want to travel around with you and let you sort of talk about all those things. You know, as you were talking, I think what's really interesting, Treena, is the most vulnerable emotion on the planet. And when I ask people this, is really interesting because I'm like, what are you feeling when you're at your most vulnerable?
Mm-hmm.
And people often say things like fear or guilt, shame. Do you know what the most vulnerable emotion on the planet is?
Tell me.
Joy. You have
Why?
access to the best parts of you when you are feeling joy. And we often don't use that synonymously with us feeling our most vulnerable. But it's like, I always ask this, when is the last time you danced in your kitchen sober? When is the last
Right.
time you belly laughed with your babies? It's like we are really in this world, particularly, I would say, in the last decade, where we've just been completely overrun. Human operating system has not evolved to the same degree that technological advances has taken sort of over around us.
Yes, yes.
And the thing we lost most access to is joy. And you sort of have equated that a little bit with fun. And I think both of those things are very much interchangeable. And I like to think about, not how much time we necessarily spend in this guilt place, because I think that that's so true for so many of us. The big question is, what's the cost of that? And what
Mm-hmm.
we're noticing in the data more than anything is really the cost of that is fun, is the joy, is the silliness, is the capacity to do those things. And when you can sort of look back at your day and think about the times that you belly laughed or think about the moments, those are the places you're refueling. And burnout, exhaustion, overwhelm, all those things, they're not a function of the work you do. They're a function of your ability or lack thereof to refuel. And so fun is synonymous, joy is synonymous for me with this capacity to actually navigate the significant overwhelm. So when you asked me about what are some of the things that I would do on my fun list, I started to think about what brings me the most joy.
Mm-hmm.
So remarkably, it's interesting because there's like a juxtaposition there. What brings me the most joy also costs me the most joy, which is my children. I have 3 of them, Curly, and I got it so right with the first one. Jesus gave me twins when I was 38 with a 5-foot Bredal Ukrainian chassis. Anyways, it's fine. I love them now.
How
They're
old are they
13
now?
They're gonna be 13 next week.
You have teenager twins?
I have a 15-year-old
Woo!
I have a 15 and a half-year-old son, and then we
Mm-hmm.
have 13-year-old boy-girl twins, and
mm,
like, sweet mother of
mm,
Jesus. Like, there's not a lot of joy here because I feel like I'm playing whack-a-mole all the time. Like, I just get
mhm,
something sorted
mhm,
out. Somebody needs a new hockey stick because 'cause they're gonna go to the show, and I'm
mhm,
like, "I actually don't think you're that good. I don't think you're gonna get make it out of beer league." And they're like, "You don't."
mm.
"You know, I do. I'm just playing the numbers." And then, and then I have a teenage daughter, which is a full-time fucking job, and, that I'm failing at horrifically. So it's like it's never been more critically important to sort of infuse joy. So some of the things that, you got me thinking about was like, okay, so where would I be? Who would I be with if I'm going to infuse joy? And I think who always makes me feel the safest in my body are like the top 4 friends that I can think about. So
Mm,
2 of
mhm,
whom I've had since kindergarten.
mm. Those are great friends to have those deep roots in the history.
Right, and I belly
Yes,
rock the most. They knew me
yes.
before any of this success. They knew me
Mhm,
before I was a mom. I knew them before they were moms. I knew them
mhm.
before, their marriages, all those kind of things. And so,
And they're the
so
best blackmail material on you.
holy shit. And I'm
So
wide
watch
like you
out.
can see show the photos because I'll tell you what, we had some feather high hair.
Well, in those days, actually, the photos are quite thin, right? Because I think you're 50, is that correct, your age?
I am
So,
50.
yeah, we only had Polaroids in those days if and maybe like a roll of film you brought to the drug mart that
Listen, girl,
trashed it,
but
right?
we were
So
very high tech in Viking, Alberta, Canada. We took graduate photos of Tangus and Leah and I at listings in Camrose, and all of us got like they had to lower the frame so that you could get our hair in.
bigger the better, baby. The
Yes,
bigger the
ma'am.
better.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. So I think I said in my response to you, it was like a nudist beach. I think I'd like to
Mhm,
try that. As I get
mhm,
into 50, I'm just like, fuck it. Like I
mhm,
feel like I
mhm,
worked hard for this
mhm,
chassis. So I think anything that sort of lowers that capacity to sort of feel like you have to put on airs or you have to play the game. And I think that's really tricky, when you're a professional in a social media platform, when
mhm,
I don't know, like,
mhm.
you kinda wanna represent yourself well in this world, but I really like the idea of creating or curating those places where you feel the most vulnerable and the most safe.
Absolutely. And so the fun list, the reason I gave you this homework, it's a great way to get to know you. And also a fun list is a tool. So a fun list is a tool that we all can use. Have it up on your fridge, have it up in your, bathroom or your office. Write just throw things on it that you want to do that you have on your mind or that you hear about randomly. And as you create that fun list, there's a whole piece of anticipation high about putting it on the fun list, looking at the fun list, getting excited about the fun list. Like you're talking already about this nudist beach. Well, we got to get you there. Come
Yeah.
on over to Vancouver. We've got some
You
great,
got a couple. I
yeah, we
know,
got a
you got a
couple.
couple. You got a couple, and I think and you know what's really interesting? As much stress as my, like, 3 teenage children cause me, I have never belly laughed so hard with the shit they come up with these days.
Yes. Yeah.
And it is like the reprieve moments where my husband and I get to look at each other and like sort of watch them grow into these amazing humans that and their insights and their
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous
Mm-hmm.
humor. And like
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like, it's all of those opportunities which actually, need to be curated these days. Because if we just sort
Mm-hmm.
of leave it to chance, we're all on a device or we're running 6 different directions. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like on purpose, to your point, really, we really have to sort of identify, what's on that fun list and do it.
Yeah, tick it off. And there's nothing for many people just scratching that off and even having that big like tick mark by it. I did it. And then here's the 5 things past that I get to do. So let's go back to, well, first of all, I want to say to you, you will survive a teenage year. So I am with you. My kids now are 25, 26. I can't even remember how old they are anymore. I tell them to anybody, teenage years to me was not my favorite part of parenting. It was awful. It was testing. It was grinding because you're really to be mama bear and the safety. It's a challenge, right? With this world. And it's hard to be a good spy with all the, technology that they're way more smarter than you. Like my parents, my dad would just follow me in his truck where I was going. That wasn't a big deal. But now he had to crack
Go up at the
passwords and
gravel pit in Vegreville.
he has a rifle and stuff, but it's different these days. But you will survive. I survived. And I can tell you, and I know, of course, we love our teenage kids and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. But I can tell you, you get to the end in that 20 something stage, become, fantastic giving back, contributing adults, and having that adult relationship with your kids is so freaking awesome. I
Believe
said to
that.
them, "I am done parenting you. You need me? I'm here, but I do not want I'm done parenting. Tick, that's off my bucket. I'm here now as a mentor. I am here as a learner to learn from you. You need me. I'm here, but I'm done parenting." And it is like the best feeling. So you are gonna get there, girl. It's gonna be you're gonna knock your socks off. I just know it.
Cool, cool. Just 10 more
Yeah.
years. Cool, it's fine. It's
That's
fine.
right. Just lots of massages and face
Mhm.
creams and all that good stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
let's get into the nudist beach. So have you not gone to a nudie beach before?
No, I didn't so the closest I got was when we were in grad school, I think a bunch of us, and went to Europe because we had a girlfriend that was doing her master's at the Max Planck or something in Germany, and so we all crammed into this one-bedroom place. And, like, we went in Baden-Baden, Germany, there was, like, a bathhouse, like a traditional bathhouse that
Mhm,
was,
mhm.
like and it maybe, like, I don't like, the first time I'd seen, like, a 75-year-old penis in my life, and so, like, the 2 of
Your
us
future is ahead of you.
Oh, God, it was something. And so, like, the 2 of us, sort of in this place, and like, talk about joy. I don't
Mm,
ever remember laughing so hard in my life. Like, not because what we were doing was laughable, but just, like, the giddiness that it was. It's so interesting about our perceptions and our bodies and, what
uh-huh,
we choose to like, our comfort level.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And, particularly as women, and so I just one of my best friends that, we did this together with, like, I mean, I don't it was just it was something.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
quite honestly, I mean, I don't even know that this is at the top of my list. It was just like when I was thinking about all the audacious things I could put on that list, I was like, "You know what? This would be lovely." And I think it just really represents this idea of, like, is there a vulnerability in a place where
uh-huh.
everybody's on the same playing field? I mean
Mhm. Yeah, all ages, levels.
Yeah.
So, and I get it. So one of my favorite things to do is skinny dip. I probably skinny dip, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 times every summer, or any chance I get.
I thought you were
I
gonna
s
say a week. I was like, "Jesus Christ, you're
well,
gonna
it's a
get
bit cold
arrested."
here in Canada, as you know.
I know, I was like, "What are you, roller Vicky?"
And I remember when you talked about your Europe journey, like, when my husband and I had our honeymoon, well, gosh, way 30 something years ago, we went to
Uh-huh.
Greece, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, there's nude beaches here, I'm so excited, so I'm gonna start ripping off my bathing suit top," and my husband's like, "No," he's very conservative, he's a banker, and he's like, "I'm not comfortable with that," and blah, 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 and I'm like, "This is like a trip of a lifetime, dude, like, are you kidding me? My boobs are
Yes,
perky, I'm
get your
25."
Speedo on.
And anyways, he got really sick, ate some beef buffet of some sorts. So he was down for the count for a few days. So I'm on my own in Greece. So I am at the new beach and so 25, I am just there was
Living it.
nothing living it, nothing like it. So thank God he got sick. So I
Oh my god, my husband would be the same. He's like, he'd have to be very intoxicated, I think,
yeah,
just yeah,
yeah,
he's a
very
scientist. We
intoxicated.
got a
Yeah,
spreadsheet for everything. So,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly.
That's why
So
they marry us, right? Because 'Cause they're so
yeah,
goddamn lucky.
right?
And so
Yes,
would we, actually.
yes,
I'd be
yes.
in big trouble without him.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, me too. I would definitely be broke somewhere at a tiki hut bar,
Yeah, drunk,
living
but
another
I'd be
best
having a
life.
hell of a good time. Yeah, exactly. I'd still be at the nude beach.
Yeah, at the tiki hut bar. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
being's not all that bad now that we talk it out loud. Jesus.
that's right. Okay, so the next one you had, just one more I'm gonna pick off your list I remember was provided was gambling. Like, you don't do gambling or not enough or have never done it, or
Oh my god,
did
I
Marty
love it.
just throw that on there for a funsy or
No!
what?
So here's the thing, I don't know. It's okay, so I lost my dad
Mm,
this year, so he died
wow.
in April. I know, it's just really it shook me to the core. I never really I mean, I'm 50 years old. I thought we would have him for so much longer as most people do, and I thought we were ready, like, we had sort of 4 years of dementia to sort of lead us up to this day, and I just really think a lot about the things that we did together because I felt like the foundation shook, despite the fact that Aaron and I have created a lovely life. We've been, married for 18 years. We got these 3 beautiful kids, all the things. I just was really struck by how much that foundation, that relationship with my dad really made me question everything when he was no longer there, even in a physical form to sort of lean on or connect with. And one of the things that we did, and I don't really know how this started, but he would come and visit me in grad school or, whatever. And he loved to play blackjack. And so I can't count. Math is not my strong suit. So I
Mm,
still have to like count on my fingers, like
mm.
even like everything. And so I was always amazed at him. So we would sit beside each other and he would always just tell me whether I needed to hit or stay or what the rules were or if I'm doubling down or all those things. So I have such good memories of just like spending an evening with him at some casino, riding on like $40 for the whole night, watching him double down. And like, I was so excited at the end of the night if he would slip me $20 at the end, like, fuck yeah,
Keep playing.
and it was just so fun, and so now, like, I speak, as you know, so much of the time, and so many of the corporate conferences are in casinos and conference centers, right? And so
Mhm.
Marty's, like, my COO, so we travel together all the time, and she's not a gambler, and
Mm.
so every time we're in these casinos, I'm like, "Let's go! Come on! Put it on the blackjack table." She's like, "No, Jesus, I won't."
Oh.
So anyway, I love it and I enjoy it, and I have met the most remarkable people at blackjack tables, and you just sort of like have this common connection
Mhm. Mhm.
and rarely do you fight. And I really enjoy it. I don't know what it is. It's fun for me, I guess.
Mhm, and you have a
Um,
good memory attached to it, and
yeah,
it's honoring your dad's fun and the thing that you
yeah,
did together.
gambling.
Gambling.
Because father-daughter love, like a little game of blackjack, you know what I mean?
Well, I'm gonna share a story with you returns. When I turned 21, and again, I think I shared earlier, my family's also from the roots that you are in, so maybe gambling is a piece of it. So when I turned 20, my parents surprised me with a trip to Reno, and again,
Oh,
once a year, they
as
go to
you do.
Reno. Yes, and so that when you talked about that joy for you with your dad, that was very similar with my mom and dad. That my mom would play the penny, I don't know, pennies in those days, and dad would, yeah, hit the blackjack table and or the yeah, and it was such a wonderful memory. Like, who takes their kids to, like, gamble, really? Does that happen anymore? I don't
Our
know.
dads.
Yeah,
That's right.
oh, fun. Okay, well, that's a good fun list start, and I hope you keep building it because again, that's one way also to keep us accountable for our finance. An easy way. The science shows that if you write something down, you're 40% more likely to do it. So write your fun list stuff down. Write it on a sticky note. Write it on anywhere that you're passing by it because you also don't want to rip yourself off of all that anticipation and seeing that fun list because that's part of the sparkles and fun in your life.
Yeah, cool. Love it.
Okay. Okay. So the next piece to get to know Jody a bit more is by bringing our books to this party. So my book's called I like the okay, go ahead one more time. I'm going to be quiet. Do that again.
I'm gonna do that on the nude beach too. That's what I'm gonna do.
As
Everywhere I
you
go.
take off your bikini top, put your two books beside you as tassels.
Right? Feeling seen. This took on a whole new meaning.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, my book, My Doodles, it's written vignette style. There's no topic lands with any other topic. It's called My Doodles. This is what I know. So, Jody, you're kind of getting to know me a bit. I like my mind goes like this. It's always like doodling, a bunch of different places. So I decided to write it down. And interesting enough, one of the topics is losing your biggest fans, which is your mom and dad. So when you talk about your parent loss and shaking your world, even though we all know we're going to die. That's like a guarantee. Hello, we all know that. We're all very unprepared for it, or we think we can prepare for it. And we just can't. Losing your biggest fans, which is your mom and your dad, is is like an earthquake. So there's a chapter in here about that. And also lots of other fun stuff in there about crossing your fun line and getting out and play, getting outside your bubbles. If you want a book on living lively, this is your book, is your handbook right here. So what's your book about?
Well, you know what? I mean, I talk lots about human connection, and so
Mhm.
I've been a psychologist for over 20 years, and I started at the Alberta Children's Hospital. Actually,
Mm.
actually, my first job was with the RCMP, so I was a civilian member with our National Police Force, talking lots about trauma and organizational stress. It's my favorite thing to talk about is trauma. And then I did my residency in Nova Scotia, and I did a year with kids, and I started to understand the neurodevelopmental process behind all of this stuff we call trauma and organizing our neural development. And I fell in love with this idea of just the healthiest among us are best at human connection. And it's just been such an interesting conversation as, in the last decade, the sort of abundance of AI that has become the topic of conversation. The way that our operating systems have just expanded, our human operating system has not.
Yes.
We're still neurobiologically wired for connection, but we've never had so many opportunities to look away. And so feeling seen came at a time where I'd written a couple of other books. Kids These Days was my first one, and lots of conversations with parents and teachers about
Right,
how
right.
if big people aren't okay, the little people don't stand a chance. And feeling seen was really written for us big people. What do we do? One of our greatest gifts is, I think, making other people feel seen, but it's predicated on the fact that we feel seen ourselves. You can't give away something you've never received. So it's really a bit of a roadmap on how we reconnect in this disconnected world. Really sort of going through all the things that can sometimes punch us in the gut, like grief and trauma and all of those things that are like a universal experience, but so many of us never talk about it like that. So I threw it all together and sort of wove the stories of my life in there. My dad and my mom and I just
Mhm.
didn't know about until I was 35, a full biological sister, and so there's all of these things about connections and disconnections that sort of define who any of us are. And really, I just wanted to sort of talk a little bit about how we stay true to the best parts of us that we all have, and why it's going to become even more difficult to do that in sort of the next years and decades that are before us. And so just sort of practicing that now and giving our kids the best shot at that so that they can get the most out of this great dynamic life we're in was really the premise. And yeah, it just blew up, and I'm proud of it.
So we were going to introduce our books. So you were doing the tassel earlier. And so let's just flip to a chapter and ask each other a quick question on it. You can
Hey,
go
you go first.
first. Oh, me first. Ah, yeah, no, you
Yeah.
go first. Okay. So again, random. Don't pick one. Don't pick one. It's all random. Okay. I'm going to pick. Let's see what this one is. Okay. This is called Know Your Elements.
Love it.
And this topic is about knowing your environment that amps you up. So it could be, I live on the West Coast. So for me, I love like the big cedar trees and the forest. I love the water. Am not a desert person, so that element like drains me when I go to dry weathers, like I like Palm Springs or kind of those areas. They dry me out, so it's not doesn't fill me up. The elements it could be. I'm not a snow person, so I know you're in Alberta. It has lots of snow. But that's not my jam. I take rain over snow, even though I don't like rain either. But so just knowing your elements is also part of living your liveliness because if you know you can put yourself into the element, that is what's going to amp you up. And if you live there, that's even a better place for you. So I was interviewing a woman recently and she actually moved from Chicago, which was very, very cold and snowy, and she hates being cold. Her and her husband, uprooted themselves, and they moved to a sunnier, warmer climate, and she's like, "Why didn't I do this 20 years ago?" This just has made a huge shift in my life, knowing my elements and where I can live my lively. So,
Mm,
do you know
mhm.
your elements? Do you know what your elements are?
Oh my goodness. You know what is so interesting to me? My elements for me are really who I'm with.
Your people. Yeah,
Yes. So
yeah.
it does not matter to me as much as, what's going on outside or inside. I mean, I
Mm,
can snow.
mhm.
I love to be in the hot weather. Like I can be anywhere. It's who I'm with that matters the most.
Love it.
Yeah. And so it doesn't, yeah, all of that. I think that's if the element can be anything, it is the
Can
people
be.
I'm sitting with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the people that help you rise, help you give you that the body tingles, the sparkle, the
Yeah. And sometimes
yeah.
it's just me. Like,
Right.
if
Yeah.
I'm really regulated and in such great spaces, it's like then it's me and, like, at the
Mhm.
farm at home, it's me, in the
Mhm. Mhm.
mountains, on a
Yep.
beach.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the
With your
people.
tassels, with your book tassels. And I love that. One of my best friends, she says, "I love my own company." She says she loves spending time by herself too. That amps her up and regenerates her. And she says, "I love my own company." I thought, "It's awesome."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really great. Okay, your turn. Flip to a chapter and hit me up.
Okay, I flipped this is near the end of the book. This is on
Okay.
16, and I really love this question, so I'm glad this is where it landed. One of my favorite activities to put our team through is to open the big team meetings with this question: "Why are we lucky to have you?"
Mm,
It's so interesting to watch people I think are amazing struggle to articulate just what they bring to the table. Furthermore, I notice how quickly other people, when they see the struggle, jump in with suggestions about
mm,
what they think the team member's good at. It's a beautiful exercise. And so I love that question so much because it's like we don't ask that often. I think of the people around us, why are we lucky to have you? And we're sometimes very good at sort of telling each other, why they are, why we are, but even asking this of your children, even asking this of your partner, why am I lucky to have you? And Aaron, my husband, will always be like, "Oh, I'll tell you the ways. Like, you're so goddamn lucky because blah, 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 blah." And he'll be funny. But if I really get him to sneak into that, like, what do you think? Why am I lucky to have you? And it's a great question. And Marty, we've been together for 10 years. We built this company together. And she's always said to me, it's the question she hates the most because she's like,
mm.
God, I have to really reflect on this. Like, I don't know, like, I'm good at organizing, I guess. And,
Mm.
so then it takes everything in my body to not be like,
Duh,
you
duh, 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 duh. Yeah.
uh, you produce my podcast, you organize all the travel, you've turned this company into a multi-million dollar organization, like,
Mm,
and so it's really interesting to sort of embody some of that in and of ourselves and give that space for somebody to answer
mm,
that question
mhm,
when we're really trying to reflect on what we bring to a team, what we bring to an organization.
mhm,
And as women, I think it's been very difficult in particular to sort of identify what we are good at. We know it. It's just that articulating it
mhm,
sometimes is difficult and I
mhm,
think necessary to embody it and to know sort of what you're good at. Because I mean, I
mhm,
think it's such an I'm very good at a very small subset of things and there's many things I'm not good at. And so I think the more successful you become, it's really interesting to sort of then surround yourself with people who fill those gaps. And many of us start, particularly as entrepreneurs, in a place where you will just do everything and anything, right? That
mhm,
the drive for me has always been quite big, initiated by my father, who was like, if you sleep, you're lazy, which
mm,
served till, the balance had to come later. But the idea
mhm,
that I can start most anything. Piecing it together, the micro parts of it, which is why, it was a gift that I married my husband because
mhm.
he slows things down like so exhaustingly. So many goddamn
Yin
questions.
and yang, they call that.
And, have we budgeted? Do we gotta have we thought about, like, "Fuck, I don't know, like, let's just wing it." And so, I think it's like, and Marty and I talk about this all the time too. As I said, we've been together a decade. She's very meticulous. She loves to plan things. She
Mm,
loves to organize. She does not like to be the center of attention. And so,
mm,
we have created just this dream team, and we get to
mhm,
travel together all the time, which
mm,
for many of us in the speaking industry, it's a lonely place because you're
right.
you're flying a lot, you're on stages, you watch people, sometimes you get great feedback, sometimes you get zero feedback, sometimes you
Mm,
get shitty feedback,
mhm,
and most people never have anywhere to put it. And
mm,
I think part of my success over the last few years, I mean, I speak 100 times a year and I always have somewhere to put it. And I am always belly laughing.
mhm,
Like she's the most ridiculous human, the shit she comes up with. And so I really attribute so much of our ability to stay in some sort of a guilt regulation between, leaving our kids and being on the road away from our partners and, even our families sort of push back around like, what about the kids? It has been fantastic to sort of have each other to kind of navigate some of that off of because you have to name it to tame it, which I think is such a really brilliant um sort of set of words that Dan Siegel came up with. He's a psychiatrist who I love. And he said, like anxiety, depression, guilt, it won't kill you, but not talking about it might.
mhm.
And when you have somewhere to put that, particularly with somebody who can empathize or understand or sort of be in the same sort of
Space.
you, it just really allows you to integrate some of those things a little bit easier.
I love
So,
that.
yeah,
Well, and when you said that, why are we lucky to have you? I immediately thought you were asking somebody else to say that about you, but to say that yourself and to
yeah,
to to bring that forward. I mean, we are raised to be modest and humble and not conceited or have a big ego. I mean, sometimes it just happens naturally and it just happens, but it is hard to talk about, yeah, what I'm giving you. Like you're lucky to have me because I can give you all these things. Otherwise, you'd be like a wild person traveling around the country f-bombing all the time and no one hiring you. Well, I'd hire you,
yeah,
especially
yeah,
with
yeah,
your
yeah.
book tassels.
Right, exactly. And I think that's the truth, right? And so like, so many of us, I think to be able to make a difference need to be audacious and push limits and boundaries. And then you need those trusted people that can sort of guide you home when, you push the limits too far or you
Yeah,
push the
yeah,
boundaries, you
off
do
the
all this.
charts.
Right. And I think
Mhm,
that like, you need a little bit of that in your life if you're if you don't want to play safe. And some people do, which is
mhm,
completely understandable, particularly these days. They just want to be in a
mhm,
cabin, nobody can talk to them, get to them.
mhm,
They
mhm,
don't need to get any feedback. I think it's really going to be what's going to dictate the health, the mental health, the wellness of the next generation is do we have the capacity to build villages that can help us co-regulate?
mhm.
Our nervous system really dictates how we show up in the world, and we haven't really taught our kids. We've said to this generation of parents, you need to be gentle. And the indication was we want them to, you need to regulate a kid's nervous system, but we've given them no skill on how to do that. So we sort of went over the edge on like giving everybody a medal, keeping everybody fucking happy, which is such a mistake because the only way you learn how to deal with hard shit is when you go through it. It's not about protecting from the hard emotions, it's about walking alongside when, not if they're gonna happen.
Mhm. Yes. Interesting. I did some research and wrote a newsletter on providing a fun legacy to your children, and much along the lines of us role modeling that to our kids, like role modeling that we are prioritizing fun, laughter, and play, because we can't change the next generation to take care of that in their health if we're not role modeling. If we're role modeling, we don't have time for fun. It's frivolous. And I always say on the show, my mom used to always, to the day she died, she said, "Trina, would you stop gallivanting? Just stay home and cook your family dinner and be home and stop traveling and doing crazy things with your friends." I'm like, "Mom, I can't stop gallivanting. It is who I am, and it makes me, like, alive, and it makes me, like, this good human." But she just could not understand it. And just that, if we can create this fun legacy for our kids, it's all they're watching our actions. And I can say, Jody, again, I'm giving you this inspiration for your kids when they are, in their 20s, but my kids prioritize fun. As young adults,
Nice.
they prioritize fun, and I hope they've got the banking side from my husband, also saving a bit of money and all this fun.
I know my children all have investment accounts that did not come from me. The father has given them, like, the wealthy barber since they were 8, and, like, I love that. I love that he has looked after that, and I'm just like, "Let's spend it, bitches!"
You don't know if you're here tomorrow, you better, like, who don't count on this.
It's so funny, before I came on here, we just had this conversation because I said to Aaron, "Did you know middle age is 38? Because
Mhm,
average
mhm,
lifespan in Canada is 77." And so I said,
mhm,
"You and I are
mhm,
now 50, which means we have
mhm,
at best 27 years
mhm,
left. We gotta
mhm.
spend this shit." Like,
Yeah,
and he said,
yeah.
"But, like, I plan to be here till, like, 88, so, like, no, you gotta budget a bit." And I was like, "Well."
Well, I'm counting on all the people I've been generous with that will not let me live on the streets homeless like that, like when I'm 80. And also do not lock me up in the psychiatric ward because I've been like this my whole life. So I'm counting on that. If not, well, I guess it is what
Whatever,
it is.
shag
Yeah.
it.
Okay, yeah, shag it. Okay, guilt, getting in the way of fun, laughter, and play. So when you heard that stat, I don't the 96 of women feel guilty every single day. What's your reaction to that? Is that normal? Is that alarming? Is that predictable?
I think
What
it's
do
a
you think?
I think that, when I look at the data that's interesting to me these days is the loneliness data. And I think that, people so many times ask me about a mental health crisis, because it's fascinating. For the first time in history, we are dying faster from emotional illness than we are from physical illness. And we've never
Mhm,
had this much access to resources or research. Okay.
mhm, mhm,
So the question then often is, oh my goodness, we're in a mental health crisis. And I don't think so. I think we're in an understandable human response to a loneliness epidemic because what we have not automated, despite the fact that we've gotten very good in the world of technological advances, we will never automate relationship. And
mhm.
it is estimated that our great grandparents looked at their children 72% more of the time than we look at our babies today. And
So sorry, can you say that stat one more time?
our great grandparents looked at their children 72% more.
Mm,
Okay, so this is not about being in physical proximity. This is like looking at, huh?
yeah,
And when
mhm,
I actually
mhm,
look at the eyes of my child, like, I mean, we sort of work around each other in this space often. But there's many times where I'm busy sort of making dinner, taking somebody to practice, doing things. It'll be like the entire night before I actually look at one of our children.
mm,
And I know this to be true. I think I told this story in kids maybe, I can't remember, but, like, one day, our son, our oldest at this point was 8, and, I'd picked them up to school, got them in the car, got them home, got everybody snacks and baths and fighting and
mhm,
reading
mhm,
books and whatever, and when I tucked Asher in, he was 8 at the time, I kissed his cheek, and he had a big scratch on his cheek, and I said, "Honey, did you get
mm,
that in the tub?" And he
mm.
said, "No, I'm at second recess." And so he'd been home with me for 5 hours.
Oh, you didn't notice it.
Look, yeah. And so what's interesting to me is this capacity, right, to sort of look and see that's been significantly thwarted by the fact that, we communicate. We would prefer online meetings. We're going to work from home. We're going to order in 72%. This crazy to me. 72% of all restaurant orders ordered in our country last year were not eaten in a restaurant.
Hmm,
And what we're losing is the subtle interactions between humans, to see you at a restaurant and be like, "Oh my God, look at that shirt, girl. you're looking great. Or to sort of navigate and have my best friend's kid who's serving us, like, screw up the entire order, and I could be like,
Right.
"Look at me, babe. Look at me. Maybe next time just write it down, okay?"
Mhm, mhm. Or again, it's okay. Let's learn from it and move on and yeah, some connection of sort. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't tell them how to be great, you gotta show them, right? To your point
Mhm.
about, like, if you
Mhm.
want to have fun or be inclusive or anti-racist, I gotta show you how to do that stuff
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
we're not born with the capacity for fun or for empathy. You have to
So
experience.
how do you feel this plays in with women then? So if women then are not prioritizing fun and because of guilt and then going inward and staying home more often or not connecting with people, like what does that spiral look like for women?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I mean, in terms of the loneliness data, one of the loneliest groups, 51% of all new moms would say they feel lonely most
Mhm.
of the time. And that's fascinating to me. And we really sort of dug into that data because I was like, what do you mean? Like, there's never been so much access to resources and research. You could just
These
Google like
groups
hot
and
beach and
online,
right?
yes. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's the problem because even, I had Asher in 2010, our oldest. I think I might have had a flip phone, but if I had a problem or I would be like, feel like I'm failing him, I had one major opinion that could derail me. And at the time, that was my mother in law because I
Mhm.
would be like, holy shit, he's not on a schedule. He's not sleeping. He's got
Mhm.
hydrocephalus and autism and all those things.
Mhm.
And she'd be like, oh, just put some booze in his bottle. He'll be
Was she Italian?
that was my Ukrainian. But this,
Oh, okay.
that's
And
Norwegian.
have a pierogi.
Yeah, exactly. Left side. But the idea is that now young moms in the middle of the night have access to
Mhm.
15
Yes.
million
Yes.
opinions
Yes.
of very uneducated people dressed in creams who, say stupid shit like, if you didn't have a dolphin assisted pool birth,
Mhm.
your kid's gonna have ADHD. And so we start we this sort of collection of massive amounts of data that are not even anywhere in the realm of correct really set so many of us up in positions to feel incompetent and incapable. And when you feel lonely, incompetent, you tend to go inside.
Mhm.
And so even at pick up and drop off, I'm not engaging with other moms. Even I don't want to have parent teacher conversations because I'm failing. I mean, everybody else's mom on the
Mhm.
highlight reel looks like they all have family pictures,
Have
dressed
it
in cream,
together.
doing
Yeah.
the shit. And I'm a single mom of 3 kids. I don't even know like fuck where half of them are. Like,
Mhm.
I don't want to show up and have this conversation. So the ability to be vulnerable, is really been taken away by so many of us who have such access
Mhm.
to reels. And so I think it's nothing that we talk about enough. There's been a massive conversation about kids and access to cell phones, and can we, take them out of
Mhm.
school? Can we do all those things? I really want to sort of talk about cell phone use and access for parents and teachers.
Right. Yeah.
Well, ideally, I would like us to see teachers not have access to cell phones during the run of a school day, right? And that they, of course, can be notified with their own families and children and all those things. But what that does when I can, as a mom, and my children, I mean, listen, I'm 100% guilty of this. I mean, my daughter in particular will be like, I'll wait until you finish that email until I
Uh,
finish.
yeah.
No, like I can do both. And she's like, no, you can't. So she's going to go to jail or me. I don't know which one. But the idea is that like they're decent at it, but
Mhm.
the sort
Mhm.
of attention fragmentation really takes away from the development and the vulnerability that is required in having a deep relationship with somebody.
So how are we to then when you're saying, even this young generation of the young moms and again seeing all the reels and the creams and again the guilt because I'm not providing this or that for my kids, as they grow into women and their kids grow up, what hope do they have for kicking this guilt to the curb of having fun? Like it sounds even worse than I'd even imagine.
Right. So I've never had this much hope for humanity,
Hmm.
mostly because the bar has never been this low.
I
So
see.
when you understand it, you can't unsee it. It's never been easier to build a business or a friendship because we're so desperate for it.
Hmm.
And I think the greatest understanding of this next generation is going to come down to our constant conversation around the discipline of connection. Because developing the breadth of relationships are so easy. Swiping right, finding a new group, a new partner. Aaron, my personal husband, is a farmer. He blows his nose like this. You know what I mean? And then now I have access to so many, like I had a lot, but anyways, my ex-boyfriends on the Facebook who
Mm.
all look so much classier and so much fitter, and they're all divorced, and they can cook, they don't look
Clean?
to have allergies.
They use a Kleenex?
And so the idea is the breadth of relationships are gonna be really
Mm,
easy. Creating the
mm,
depth of relationship is gonna be hard, and we will always require the depth of relationship in grief, loss, all of those things we're not gonna automate. And
mhm,
so harboring that is going to be called, something really around the discipline of connection that I think we're gonna start to talk more and more about is how do we center back to the best of ourselves? What are some of those skills that we've never had to learn before? Like Eastern philosophical practices, dropping our shoulders, dropping our tongue from the roof of our mouth,
mhm,
being able to find that home here where we really know what it feels like in our own bodies to center, to come
mhm,
back home, to be regulated and back to the best parts of us so we can give that away. Other people become irrelevant if we can't do that ourselves. And so many of us have not been, we haven't had that discussion, particularly men. Women, those who identify as women, tend to be a little bit more advanced in this way because we've always used a much more emotional language with our
mm,
girls or those who
mhm,
identify as women than we have with our boys. This is true in our own family system with our sons and our daughter. And the research is remarkably clear in this aspect that the more you have a capacity for emotional language, the better you are at, how we started at the top of the show. When you name it, you tame it. If you have
mhm,
the capacity to say things, I just feel like overwhelmed. I feel exhausted. I feel like embarrassed that I said that thing. If you have those words, you can put it into place. If you only know happy, sad, and pissed off, it becomes very difficult to communicate and get other people to sort of help you integrate those things. And women historically do this much better. So I say this all the time, the future's female, because what we need at
mm,
the table, I mean, again, I have 2 sons and a daughter. This isn't about saying vaginas
mhm,
are better than penises. What we need
mhm.
to be able to move companies or
But maybe at the beach they are. That's a sidebar.
yeah, don't take a dick pic ever, PS. That's just a super freeload. Not photogenic ever. Nobody's waiting for that, okay? But the idea is really, what do we need? And at the helm of many organizations right now that are sort of more successful than others in the corporate world anyway, is that women who sit at if there's at least one woman on a board or at a senior leadership table, there tends to be deeper and more important conversations around really what are we feeling as we're navigating towards the next thing. And if you have space for that at a leadership or a boardroom table, you're accessing the best parts of people, which means I then am calming people to a place where they now can access creativity, innovation, the things that sort of the best parts of them that will allow us to move forward in organizations at a time where nobody has a script. So I want
Mhm,
the best parts of my employees, of my family system, of my bored, and it's really not that hard. Just don't be a dink, and people want to be with you and around you. So it
mhm.
starts here because you can't make anybody else do that. You can't tell them, you have to show them, and
Yes,
it's always here first. And I always talk about this three-step process for me. It's go in, then you go out, give it away, and you put that on relentless repeat. That's it.
done. That's easy, hey? That and world peace. It'll all be resolved.
With a side of world peace. I'm
Aside of
then
world peace.
on a nudist beach.
We yeah, with your book tassels.
Yeah, then we're all on an equal playing field.
Oh my gosh. Well, Jody, you are truly again, not I wish we were face to face and we would be, I know, hugging and connecting and really have our energy be on fireworks together. I mean, the beauty of technology, of course, is I probably wouldn't have met you,
Right.
if we did not have this technology, all the, from COVID and Zoom and all the stuff. So that's a win. However, yeah, that human connection, it's irreplaceable, right? You can't replace it
Yeah.
because you and I know we would probably be part of each other's friend packs
Writing another
and
book. Yeah.
right? Another book, maybe together, who knows? Yeah, so I'd love to leave the fun fans 3 ways or methods, that strategies, that you can recommend to women that can reclaim prioritizing fun back in their lives without letting guilt be a roadblock. Knowing what you just taught us all about, the challenges that are in our way. What are 3 tactics that the listeners can walk away with making that happen?
I am I think one of the biggest things that I'm learning in my 50s is the importance of stillness. So I've
Mm,
been such a pushbacker to meditation, to taking time to slow down because I just got too much shit to do. In this really noisy world, stillness has become a priority for me, and I have to start slow. So 5 minutes.
mm.
And sometimes it's like I have to just sit by myself in the bathroom where my kids can't get me. I have to, oftentimes, like, I have to make it a ritual. So I light a candle. If I'm on the road, I pack a candle now. I call it a fireside chat. I sit and chat to my dad for 5 minutes,
Mm.
somewhere to just reset your nervous system on purpose.
Uh-huh,
Because
uh-huh,
if we don't do that, then the world just takes over.
uh,
So and it's for you and nobody else.
uh-huh,
So that becomes a huge thing for me. I also just think about little things like, we just said, how often a day are you doing a couple of things like dropping your shoulders? Go back
uh-huh,
to the day and sort of remember the times that were you laughed out loud.
uh-huh.
And I promise you, the more times you can say you did that, the less guilt you're going to have. There's sort of work under.
Practice it. Yeah.
So that, and pay very close attention to who you consume and what you consume.
Mhm, mhm.
And the age-old prophecy around moving your body, has never been more true to me than it is today. And
What can you explain that a bit further? What does that mean?
I hate to use the word exercise because I think it's really about how do we move our bodies in a way that sort of gets us out of a routine that
Mm,
we're in. So like getting up and, walking around your kitchen if you don't feel, well enough or good enough to go outside.
mhm,
Move your body if you can do the things, and I just, like, it's become a priority to me in my 50s, and I cannot tell you I've never felt better
mm,
than I gotta get on the treadmill, I gotta get on a Peloton, I gotta do something, and I mean, she not
uh-huh.
pretty. She not pretty. We are not here to look pretty. We are I don't give a shit about that anymore. I spent the first part of my life doing that. Now, it's just like, it gets me back to the best parts of me. It gives me direct access to joy.
Mhm,
Fun, and I gotta think about all the ways back to me so that I can access that fun part. Just having
mhm,
fun. I don't fucking wanna do it if I'm
mm,
overwhelmed, exhausted, I feel like
mhm,
against
mhm,
feel like I'm really mad and is stuck in grief. I'm not gonna have
mhm,
give a shit how
mhm.
me too. So I really have to get back to the best in me. That's always my priority, and then my people will be better for it, and so what.
Okay. So what I'm hearing then, is you need to put yourself in a really a mental and a physical better place to then be able to accept the fun, have the fun, have energy to fun, have do the fun, to accept the
Then give it
fun.
away.
Yeah, that's, I love that. That's true. When I think about your 3, so stillness, my husband says to me all the time, "You should take a lot of baths." So
Yeah,
I think I'm doing your stillness exercise,
yeah, like
and I do. It just gets me just settle me down.
so many people like think meditation is so scary because it's like, okay, you're gonna have to sit in a
Right.
pool with goats and shit, and you
On a
gotta like,
mountain with
yeah,
some incense floating around. Yeah. Just have a
burning,
bath.
right, which is lovely. I mean, I've done all of those things, but like I've also been in a hotel bathroom just with, by myself sitting
Uh-huh.
beside the tub, and like that's all you need to come back
Uh-huh.
home. And it's a gift to you. And
Uh-huh.
I'm the only one I'm worried about. Nobody
Uh-huh.
gets out of here alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Right
and
on.
this is just the thing that, maybe when you get into the second half of your life, that mortality becomes like the greatest thing you can talk about because it's like, stop faking it. Like we're just, Ram Dass says these words. I wrote about him feeling seen because I just changed my life. He said, "We're all just here walking each other home."
Mhm, mhm. It's
And
true.
some of the most profound work we do is in the walking of other people, but it all has to come back here first. Because if I'm not
Mhm,
okay, I can't
mhm,
do nothing.
mhm. Yep, I love that. Well, thank you. That's wonderful wisdom. And as we wrap up, I usually tell our listeners, like, what's my what, aha, and what the, and, I've got a bunch of chicken scratch notes here. I'm left-handed, so I can't even read my own writing, but I'll try. So one of my ahas was when I asked you about your elements and the people, right? I love that. And I think up until today, I really was thinking elements of being, yeah, the environment around us. But people, of course, are the, one of the biggest environments around us. And I would absolutely endorse that. I call my people my tribe. And when I don't have my tribe around me, like I am about gathering, and I like to gather my people together around. I have this beautiful big long table in our dining room, and there's nothing that fills me up is having that table squished full of people, conversation, no technology, good food, good wine, good belly laughs, emotional sharing, late sharing, silly sharing, all the sharing. That just, it's a beautiful element. So thank you for reminding me of that. My was that 51% of the new moms being lonely. My daughter, I'm a baba. So I'm also Ukrainian, by the way. So I'm a
I got a
really
strata baba. My
Shtada Baba, yeah, Shtada Baba. And she's got a second baby on the way as well. And,
congratulations.
loneliness at that age, it's just hard to even imagine, like you said, with all the Facebook groups and the mom groups and these groups and that groups. And it's hard to, but all those groups you still can be lonely. You still have the people, the opportunities, and you still can be very lonely. So that's my And then my what the really is around, I feel when you said, this kind of is, you have hope because it's the worst that it's been and you have nowhere to go but up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's heartbreaking for me to even
And
fathom with, really.
for sure, and I want it to be a bit hopeful because I just think sometimes is that, like, it doesn't have to be anything great. We don't have to start a nonprofit for homeless teenage moms. Like, you wave at somebody at the 7-Eleven today, you give somebody a compliment on your way into work tomorrow, you can not only change your life, you can save it. So, next best, right, kind thing. That's all you need
Yes.
to do to change this world.
Yes.
And when we get
Yes.
overwhelmed with what's happening in the United States of America, the divisive Greenland, Russia, the Ukraine, Gaza, it's all of it that just makes us go, okay, fine, I'm not going to do anything. And that's my biggest fear.
Like being
Is that,
paralyzed.
yes, we
Yeah.
lose that power to just do the next best right kind thing at the hockey rink, at the soccer stadium, to pick up your grandbaby, to give a compliment to your son-in-law, like whatever those things do, like that's how we change the world. And it's in our corners, wherever that is, do never, ever, 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 ever underestimate your power.
Yes, I love that. I'll just a story on that before we knock off is during COVID, I know the world saw all the seniors be isolated and lonely and lonely and lonely. And I called on my friends. I'm like, just give me a bunch of money and I'm just going to go buy some bouquets and I'm going to drop them at the front of a long-term care home and then the nurses can hand them out. But my gosh, he's got these bubbas and Guidos and the grandmas and papas and nanas and nonos, they need some flowers. And so we did that. And my friend's like, can we do that again? And hence a giving program was launched called Bouquets for Baba. And the community came together and we found out quickly it wasn't just during COVID. So the nurses were telling us this is normal. There's seniors, they think about most of the people they've loved they've lost. And, if they have family, they might not live here. Some of the lucky ones, again, have family visiting regularly. But for many, this is normal. They do not have anybody visiting and paying attention to them. So we started this giving program and asked the community just to go buy some flowers. And we found a florist to donate their time and their flowers. And we volunteer drivers and people writing cards in the community from, school-age children to just your friends getting together on a Friday and having some wine, writing some nice cards to say to seniors, you're loved, you're not forgotten. 5 years later, we've raised close to $100,000 in bouquets. They go out every couple of weeks. And it's just such
I love it.
unconditional, anonymous, giving kindness, just because it's the right thing to do. And it's important, right? To tell people they're loved and cared and respected. So when you talk about kindness, yeah, that's a great example of how just be
I
kind.
love that,
Just be
Baba.
kind. I know my neighbor always drives by me. He's like, they sure do make grandmas different these days.
As she goes skinny dipping.
Yeah, just see at the lake. Oh, so thank you so much, Jody. It's been a pleasure. I knew that we would be, spirit sisters together in this world of unlonely and laughter and play and vibrancy and all the connections of life. Thank you for the listener for listening and wanting to prioritize living more lively in your life because it benefits your health, benefits your wellness, and not only to you, but to all those around you. And in turn, the world is lighter, brighter, and healthy. So if this episode has sparked something inside of you, please share it with a friend that needs to hear it today. And we want to inspire the world to be living lively, guilt-free. Thank you. Have a fun day.